Welcome to Forex Daybreak, a daily podcast where we cover 8 Forex pairs and give you our view on the market direction for these pairs. If you are trading Forex market, this is the #1 show to start your trading day. Now, let's begin today's episode.
Good morning everybody and welcome to Forex Daybreak episode 2. In this daily Forex update, I will give you my view on 8 Forex pairs I analyze using Elliott wave principle. My name is Ville Vainio and today is 10th of August 2015. Show notes for this episode can be found at ForexDayBreak.com/2. Now let's get started. Okay, last Friday we got the non-farm payroll numbers and they were slightly mixed numbers. Slightly below expectation was the employment change. 215,000 was the number and the expectation was 222,000. Unemployment rate was unchanged at 5.3%. So this is not a good number, nor is it a bad number. So it is not giving any clear indication on the rate hike. In my opinion, there is not going to be a rate hike, probably a 1 rate hike. But is it going to be September? I don't think this non-farm payroll number will give any more strength to the notion that the Fed will raise rates in September. Possibly they will move now to December, or they will see the next month's non-farm payrolls. So quite hard to say what will be in the future. The reaction on the market were quite subdued. First there was a strengthening dollar and then all the gains in almost all the US dollar pairs were erased. So the result was absolutely nothing at the end. So let's get into the markets. Euro USD, the first pair. So the NFP release gave a boost to the dollar. So this pair went to the downside, probably 100 pips or so, but quickly erased all of those gains. We are now at price 1.0961 and there's possibly a slight bullish bias on this pair. Key levels on Euro USD, the downside support is at 1.0891. Next support level on the downside, upside resistance area is around 1.0965. My wave count is putting this latest choppy decline as the last leg of the larger triangle, but this is unconfirmed yet and this can still be the D wave of the triangle. So let's see how this develops. I'm looking for more downside, possibly to end this triangle, or if we are still on the D wave, this should continue higher towards the upper trend line, which I have on my charts. Next, dollar yen, and here the non-farm payroll numbers first gave a boost to the dollar and then there was a strong downside move which went even lower than the lows for Friday. We are now at price 124.375 and I have marked a trend line on my charts which connects the recent lows, and this is acting as a support line on the downside. Key levels for dollar yen, so the trend line on the downside will act as a support level and around 124.15 is this support level, and upside resistance level is at 124.35. My wave count is that the third wave has started, but this has been so choppy and not impulsive looking, so I'm starting to think that this is probably still a corrective wave 2 we are witnessing. So if this is the case, we should then get more downside on this pair, but let's see how this develops. Next is pound dollar, and also a reaction on the non-farm payroll figures. This was looking quite strong on the dollar on Friday, but those gains were erased, not entirely but almost. We are now at price 1.5483. Possibly the correction has ended and I'm looking for bullish move next, but there can be possibly a little more downside to come on pound dollar. Key levels on pound dollar downside support zone is around previous fourth wave low at 1.548. I have connected these recent lows with the trend line, and this should act as a support. We might have seen low for this, and there might be a turn to the upside, but this is still too early to say. Upside resistance level is at 155.34, and possibly this has completed the minute wave 2 corrective wave and should continue higher. I have talked about before this possible triangle scenario in this pair, so this is also a possibility, and since this is corrective looking, there might be a triangle scenario in pound dollar. If this is the case, this next upwards move should contain near 159, 158.5 area. So when we get to those levels, we can then assess this in more detail. Let's see euro pound next. First, there was a slight downwards move on euro pound on NFP figures, but then there was a strong upwards move right after that. We are now at price 0.7078. My wave count is bearish, long-term bearish on this, and possibly we have seen a start of the next larger wave down. My wave count is putting this possibly still forming minor wave 2, which is getting more complex, but this is I haven't labeled this in my charts, but this is still unconfirmed. The key levels on euro pound are that there's a support area immediately around 0.706. This has been a strong support level, and I think this will be hard to break through. So this is one of the reasons I'm advocating more downside. If we get a breakthrough this resistance level, there is much more upside then to come. So on the downside, support area 0.7058 area will be a support level as well. There is also 0.7015 support level, so those levels will act as a support on the downside if we get a turn. Next, euro yen. Slight reaction also on the NFP figures. On euro yen, this has been on a sideways price action for a while now. Nothing major has happened on the past few days. Last Friday was of course slightly more volatile than the other days, but this has been quite subdued. My wave count is looking for a triangle in a minute wave B position, and we should get a downwards move next, and the decline should reach around 134.4 about. We are now at 136.38 and there's slight bullish bias on Euro Yen. Key levels on Euro Yen 135.86 will be a support level on the downside and 136.935 will be next resistance level on the upside. So perhaps this will contain the upside move on Euro Yen. Next we have Pound Yen. And last week Pound was quite weak. There was a Bank of England statement and markets were expecting a hawkish statement, possibly a rate hike even. But there was none of those, so this was a disappointing statement and caused pound to get weaker. In this pair pound yen, I'm expecting more downside since this is going to be an expanded flat or is looking like an expanded flat correction, which would need one more wave down to complete a 5-wave structure as wave C, and it should reach below the latest low, which is at 190.97, and slightly lower than that. I'm expecting this to decline maybe 190.2 or around those numbers. Key levels on pound yen, downside support zone is at 192.38 and after that 190.54, so possibly that level should be the bottom for this corrective wave. Upside strong resistance level is at 194.25 or resistance area. Those are the key levels on pound yen. Next is Euro Canadian dollar, and this has been a sideways price action for a while again. There was a stronger looking decline a couple of weeks back, but now again has resumed the more or less sideways price action. After the non-farm payroll release, we got a strong upwards move and this has continued slightly this morning. So quite hard to figure out this wave count. My wave count puts this as a start of next larger decline, but this hasn't been confirmed yet. Key levels on Euro Canadian, downside support level comes at 1.425 and this is the recent peak at wave A and recent peak also after the non-farm payrolls. This same level held quite nicely, so this will be an important support level. Upside resistance is at 1.4449 and then the high at 14492. And finally US dollar Canadian, also a quite strong reaction to the non-farm payrolls, but then erased almost all of those gains, and the result for the day was almost flat for the day. My wave count puts this as start of the next larger corrective wave down, and I'm expecting this to be a sideways correction, so this can be on a sideways price action for a while now if this correction has started. Key levels on US dollar Canadian dollar. There is a support level at 131 on the downside, and upside resistance level is the latest high at 1.3212. So those are the levels to watch for on this pair. So that's all for today's episode. Visit the show notes at ForexDayBreak.com/2 and you can leave your comments on that show notes page if you have any. Thanks for listening, and now go make some profits. I will see you tomorrow. Bye bye.
Thanks for your interest in Forex Daybreak Daily Podcast. If you like this show, we hope you'll visit our website, www.ForexDayBreak.com, and tell your friends about us. Be sure to check the show notes on our website for this episode. Join us next time for another episode of Forex Daybreak.